Good evening and welcome. This is the March 12th, 2026 meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Appeals located in the Commissioners of St. Mary's County Meeting Room of the Chesapeake Building, 41770 Baldridge Street, Leonardtown, Maryland. Excuse me. I am Chairman George Allen Hayden Sr., here with 4 other board members. We have met our minimum requirements for a quorum and will now proceed with the meeting. We'll start with the introduction of the board, and we'll start to my left.
Donald LaRocco.
Rita Weaver.
Good evening, John Brown.
Ronald Payne.
And Steve Scott, our board attorney, is here tonight. John Sterling Hauser, deputy county attorney, is here. Stacy Clements, planner 4, land use growth management. Nick Colvin, planner 2, land use growth management. And Lakika Martin, our video media support, is with us. And before we get started with the meeting, I just have a comment I need to make, please. A draft of the comprehensive plan is now available online under announcements at the St. Mary's County website. Residents are encouraged to participate in the draft plan survey by visiting the comprehensive plan website and selecting the Participate Now button. The survey is open to all residents, available in 239 languages, and will remain open until March 25th, 2026. And for the people that are attending the hearing tonight in person, we have a paper copy of the survey that's located on the half wall for all those interested in taking one. They're right here in front on the half wall. We have 3 public hearings this evening on our agenda. The first one is a variance request, VAAP 25-0395, the next door pour. And whoever's going to be testifying on staff tonight, if you'd stand and raise your hand, I'll get you sworn in, please. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimonies, responses, and statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Mr. Coleman, I guess you got the first case, huh?
Yes, sir.
All right. Whenever you're ready.
All right, good evening, board members. Our first public hearing of the evening is variance application VAAP 25-0395, next door pour property. The applicant is requesting a variance from section 32.1 from the required 50-foot front setback and 15-foot side setback for use type 85, alcoholic beverage production in the Rural Service Center RSC zone. The legal ad was printed on February 20th and February 27th, 2026 in Southern Maryland News. Certified mailings were sent to adjacent property owners located within 200 feet of the property in question, and a public hearing sign was posted on the property on or before February 25th, 2026. The owner of the property is 18080 Point Lookout Road, LLC. The property is 10,367 square feet, or 0.24 acres, so around 1/4 of an acre in actual size. The property consists of one existing commercial building, which appears to have been built in 1945 per the ESTAT information. Property is located at 18080 Point Lookout Road, Park Hall, Maryland, 20667. The land use of the property is Crossroads Commercial. The property is zoned Rural Service Center, RSC. As I mentioned earlier, the property is developed with an existing commercial building. The applicant is proposing to convert a portion of the existing building into use type 85, alcoholic beverage production, so a brewery. The TEC have either approved, the agencies have either approved or have no comments concerning the minor site plan application. Land Use and Growth Management requires a setback variance to approve the site plan and permit. So this is an overview of the current site plan. And this is a closer view of the site plan from Schedule 32.1. Again, they're requiring a 50-foot front setback and a 15-foot side setback for structures in the RSC. So applicant is requesting a variance from the standards to reduce the front setback to 18 feet and the side setback to 5 feet. So again, the existing building is 5 feet from the side property line and 18 feet from the front property line.
Question.
And the last 3 slides are just the standards for granting a variance.
Mr. Hayden.
So with that, are there?
Mr. Colvin, I
Yes.
think we have a question here. Sure.
Yeah, that picture you just showed. Okay, why is it two structures or two different parcels?
So this is just showing, the parcel to the right is just showing the neighboring property. That property has nothing.
So it has nothing to do with it.
Correct.
Well, it shouldn't be there.
Well, this is just what they provided on the site plan.
Well, I understand that, but all that does is causes this question to be asked.
Sure.
So,
Of course.
okay, so now this was the old feed store, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, it had a. Yeah, I see where it says owner's personal storage. I guess, what are they talking about? Hops and malts and all that other, whatever they do to manufacture.
We might want to hold that question for the applicant, Mr. Payne,
Okay,
okay?
for sure. Thank
Because I don't know whether Mr. Culver's been in that building to take a look at what they're doing with it or not.
He's too young to
No, I
understand.
have not been in there.
But anyway, I think we hold your question there for the applicant, if that's okay. Any other questions you have, Mr. Payne?
No.
Okay, anyone else have any questions for staff?
Yeah, I got one, sir. In the paperwork, it references Route 4, but that's actually Route 5, I believe.
Was that in the staff report that was provided?
Yeah, in this
Okay.
package right here.
Okay.
Didn't you have one, weren't you starting on the last slide before we had the questions? Or did you finish?
I had just finished as he asked the
okay.
question.
Yeah, right there.
On this.
See right there, it says Route 5. Then here it says Route 4.
Okay.
That's
So
one
that
of
was
the-
that was a typo on our part, so I do apologize.
Okay, no big. Okay, I'm good, sir.
So its prior use was as a feed store? I mean, I don't know, you may not know the use type it was.
That would have been retail sales limited, so use type 77.
Okay, but just for my education and maybe everybody else, just because you're taking the same building with it's already approved to do business, changing what the product is you're going to sell out of it, you've got to go through the entire subdevelopment or planning commission and variance for the appeals board?
No.
Yeah, I mean, the director just couldn't say, just change the number and that's it?
No, this met the requirements for a minor site plan. So they did not have to go through a full site plan, would have been a concept and major site plan. That would have required a hearing at the planning commission. So
Yeah.
they did not have to go through that.
But I mean, just the mere fact, because you're changing the use, that is the only thing that's really changing here, correct? That's what
Correct.
you're telling me.
That's correct.
We're going to be selling some good products instead of that feed stuff, okay? Okay.
So I'm going to just tag on with the question. The building itself was built prior to any of our zoning ordinances,
Correct.
correct? And it was okay then. I mean, just because they're changing what they're going to sell, you may need to know what they're going to be selling out of it. It really doesn't make any difference to me. So why do we have to worry about the setbacks if everything else is the same except product?
Just because it does not meet those setback requirements. Even though the building is existing, they are not required to tear down and rebuild, but that's where they need to go through this variance process to get approval for those setbacks because they don't meet them.
Okay.
So can I ask then, so it went from like a feed store to the greenery, and then it went back to like a little knickknack or, some other things. Like, did those people, when they came in, when it changed to the greenery, like, did they need to come get a waiver? That's what, or a variance?
Don't recall previously when that use was last changed, so they probably would have needed to. That'd be my understanding.
Any other questions? Okay. Anything else, Mr. Cole?
Nope, nothing else
All
from me.
right. Who's making a presentation for the applicant this evening? Is the applicant here?
Yep,
Okay.
he should be unmuted now. Sir, can you hear us?
Do we need?
Yes, I can hear you now. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
Oh, so who's making the presentation? Is that you, sir?
Eric, my business partner, will be, but I'm
Okay, let me get you sworn in with your business partner, okay? And you can sit up here at the front table if you like. And your business partner is named, what's his name?
His name is Eric Chung,
Can you spell the last for me?
Chung.
Great. All right. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony, responses, and statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And Mr. Chung,
Yes, I do as well.
thank you. So, sir, if you would, you can come sit down if you like. It's going to be a few minutes. No, right up at the table.
Oh, cool.
So you're at the microphone. so we
You're
can
on
hear-
TV.
Right.
Not only that, we can hit you a lot easier.
Right. So, sir, for the record, if you would give us your name and address.
My name's Alex Reynolds. I live at 21637 Atalanta Street, Lexington Park, Maryland.
Okay, and Mr. Chung, for the record, can you give us your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Eric Chung. Last name is Chung, Chung, and I live at 10 Ivy Oak Court, Gaithersburg, Maryland, 20877.
Thank you. I don't want to ruin things, but this is the best one so far as the Zoom's concerned. We've always had to play around with it a little bit. So, all right, so, Mr. Reynolds, you're not presenting, you're answering questions. Mr. Chung, you're presenting, you want to start now?
Yes, I can start if you guys are ready.
We're ready.
I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to hear us out and also for allowing me to join by Zoom because I would have had to drive 2 hours through that snowstorm to get to you. So that is greatly appreciated. Thank you for allowing me to do that. I wanted to give you a little bit of background about me and my partners and myself. My partners James and Alex went to school in St. Mary's and are very familiar with the area. Alex, who's there and is our head brewmaster, went on to be general manager at Outback and is currently the general manager and operator of the Green Door. My other partner James, who couldn't be here tonight, and I went into business together, and we were the owners and operators of the Rita's Italian Ice inside Lake Forest Mall in Gaithersburg. We actually survived COVID and only shut down a couple of years ago because the mall was sold and decommissioned. In our 14 years of running that store, we never had an accident, a workman's comp claim, never had a single insurance claim, and that is to say that we're diligent, safe, clean, and we know what we're doing around food. I have, if I can share my screen, I have a few images of the outside of the location. Sharing it now, and hopefully you can see as I click through. Again, what we're requesting for the variance, the location, we're not going to be changing anything externally. The location's been there and hasn't been used in this state. It was prior to our use was a flower shop for several years. It was the same distance away from the road. What we plan to do with the unit will not impact traffic, will not add to congestion. We have a very small footprint. We will not be creating any type of emissions. Everything that we're using to brew is natural. We're not adding, we won't be producing any chemicals. There will not be an odor. There will not be any noise pollution. And as you can see from the image for the front, it won't even be a distraction to cars that are potentially driving by. There are no windows in the front right now. We've got blinds over the front entry door, and you won't even be able to see us brewing. And then what we're trying to do. We want to grow a local business in the area. When we just started out doing brewing in our basements, just to experiment and see if it was something that we thought we would want to get into, we have entered competitions, and a couple of years ago, one of our first products won 4th place in a brewing competition. And between then and now, I think we've gotten better. We've gotten our recipes dialed in. We're better with our equipment, and we're better with our workflow. And we anticipate entering competitions again, and we hope to be able to bring some sort of trophies, medals, and ribbons to the local area. What we will be doing is brewing artisanal, customizable beer for local area restaurants. We would not be selling directly to customers. We're not going to be bottling, canning, and selling directly to customers, and we will not be selling on site, which is again why the parking and the traffic would not be an issue, because we won't actually have customers coming on site. We would really just be doing business outreach and working with local area restaurants, and we would also be supporting local businesses in that venture, as well as working with agriculture. We've spoken to several farmers, and our spent grain can be used as fertilizer and can potentially be used as feed, and there are many alternative uses for it, and that's one of the things that we've already spoken to several farmers in the area, and have gotten a lot of interest in that. Again, minimal footprint, no emissions, again, no pollution, and we will have zero effect on traffic because we are starting off small. Technically, we prefer the term nano brewery for what we're doing, as we're even smaller than a microbrewery. I would say that it's the definition of small business. And because of our small size, we can scale up naturally and grow with demand if need be. But we are completely self-financed, so we're able to, with only a small amount sold, still be solvent, and that's kind of how we wanted to start. Do this as a first step before potentially growing larger, and that's how we plan to keep things approachable, artisanal, and authentic. We think that beer can be enjoyed and paired with meals, but right now it's all wine and it's all cocktails, and we want to be less snobbish about it and more approachable. We still want to brew craft beers and be able to customize them, and because we're self-financed, we don't have deadlines to meet corporate overlords, and we can do it as ourselves and stay authentic. So that is our approach, and that is who we are.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Chung?
I do. Since you will be working with local farmers, what about delivery trucks from, them picking up the waste product or them bringing grain? Where will they park and how will it be delivered in there?
The amounts that we're working with, due to our size and the scope of what we're brewing, is actually very small and will not require truckloads. Per batch, per brew session, when we are able to drop those off or have them picked up, they will be able to be picked up in really a sedan. I mean, it could be something small. It's something that you could lift with your own 2 hands. So the quantity that we're brewing, we will not be producing enough grain to require something like a big truck in order to get it picked up.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Anyone else have any questions?
She answered my question.
I had one comment. You should also look at local bakeries for the spent grain, because some bakeries use beer spent grains and they make muffins and breads out of. So you should look at that.
Absolutely. That's definitely something that we will look into. One of the things that we were planning on doing was also looking into ways that we can incorporate it with food. One of the things that we are very interested in is pairing our product with food, working is viable, and can be upcycled in that sense. But excellent suggestion, thank you.
How large is your batch?
One barrel at a time. So
One barrel
30
is
gallons, give or take.
30 gallons?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Payne, you have any questions?
Probably the only question I had was, you know, it's a good place to start, but when do you start making corporate decisions about we need to do more? And, I mean, is that in a business plan or?
It is. It's in the long-term business plan. We have to grow to a certain level before we can start expanding outward at all. We would like to get a site somewhere in St. Mary's County where we eventually have food and bar and serve beer and invite people to come, but we will not be inviting them to come to this place
Right.
To start because it's a small operation. That's where we want to make the beer just to get it out of the building. We would like to get a farm spot somewhere at some point and have some outdoor activities and some things for the community to do. But we're not really sure what that growth point looks like yet.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's it.
Mr. Payne, you had a question about the facility out back, the storage.
Oh. Well, you know, I used to buy feed from there years ago, and it's it's made for trucks, big trucks, and y'all were gonna store something there, I would think.
Mainly a small amount of the raw grain, and then a bigger amount of prepared beer, more than likely. The beer has to sit for a certain amount of time before we can sell it. It has to be cold. We have to have places for it to ferment and things like that. So it takes a couple of weeks on the back end, but the amount of grain that we need on the front end is not that much. It's so we won't really be storing a lot of things outside. And we have a ton of room inside that building for the size that we are.
Yeah.
Our footprint is probably like 12 by 12 for the space that we actually need, and we have something like 500 square feet inside that building. So it's very, very small, like in comparison to what you think of as a brewery and like tanks that are much taller than humans and things like that. So it's basically a one-man operation. Like I'll be in there brewing myself by myself for the most part.
Again, we like the term nano brewery for that. We're smaller than the smallest microbrewery you've ever seen.
Cool. Any other questions?
No.
Anything else you'd like to present?
I don't think so.
No, just wanted to thank everyone for their time, and if approved, we hope that you can make your next pour next door.
Well, let's open it up to public comments. Anyone wishing to speak on this case this evening? Mr. Colvin, we didn't have any written comments, did we?
No, we did not.
Not to my knowledge. Okay, great. Is anyone wishing to speak this evening? Seeing none, we'll close the public comments to all written and verbal at this time. And we'll get into board discussion. I'd like to make a couple comments, okay? First of all, he's not going to have any traffic at all. Okay? And in that turn where it's going to be at, it's going to be a whole lot safer than it was when it was the greenery there. Okay?
Yeah.
And probably a whole lot safer. I don't remember going down there when there was a grain facility, okay? I don't remember that. But I'm sure there was a lot of more traffic than it would be for this, okay? I see one or two cars a day, okay? Maybe. And I think it's a great idea that they've started there small.
And you're supposed to slow down to about 40 miles an hour to make that corner anyway, right?
Yeah. Yes. But I think it'd be a great addition to the corner, to be
I
honest
think
with
so too, down my end.
you. Okay. Even though he's not going to sell it to us right away, you know, but
Well, to me, it looks like you're starting out smartly, then, rather than trying to go buy a big building to do a nano operation and have a huge overhead that will kill you. Let's start small and work our way up. I have no issues, except that maybe it bothers me that they have to pay $500 to come in and get a variance when all these other people existed previously. But that's a separate issue.
Any comments?
I agree with you, sir. I don't know why we're here for this. It seems like we shouldn't even be here. We should figure out a waiver process somewhere.
Well, I guess it's the way the comprehensive zoning ordinance was written. And if that's the way it was written, and if that's it, so be it. But these folks are well on their way to doing something good.
But it should provide better parking for the green door too. 'Cause,
Look,
well,
I'm the manager there, but I'm not the owner, so we just kind of go with what he wants to do. But
no, but there's a lot of cars try to park there in the front, just around the green door. This gives more parking around the front to spread that out, and in the back. So I think it's a little bit better for safety too.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Mr. Payne, you have any comments?
Yeah, this is really an improvement. I mean, I remember back in the day, they didn't have any parking at the green door. It's just in the front
yeah,
and then lined up on 5.
I remember that. It was a
And
long time ago.
very dangerous. And, there's been a few fatalities down there. Somebody has too much to drink, stumbles out into traffic, and that's it. And that's really unfortunate. This actually sounds promising to me. I was talking to someone, and they thought that this county had quite its share of this type of business. I don't know if it does or not.
We don't really.
All I know is the big ones that, come in and get special permits to do this, that, the other, and, and that kind of stuff. And, but, attacking it in a small size and having it, y'all would be non-existent as far as issues. At least that's what it seems to me.
I think they're falling right in with the compliance to the spirit and intent of our comprehensive plan. So,
Yeah.
and that's a good thing. Any other discussion?
No.
If not, I'm open for a motion, please.
You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead. I have to, otherwise I have to.
In the matter of VAAP 25-0395, the next door poor property having made a finding that the standards for granting a variance and the objectives of section 32.1 of the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance have been met, move to approve the variance request from section 32.1 from the required 50-foot front setback to 18 foot and the 15 side setback to 5 in the RSC zone.
Have a motion,
Second.
and we'll start to my left.
Aye.
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 Aye. So, gentlemen, you can see the board has voted unanimously to support your request this evening.
Thank you.
An order reflecting the board's decision will be prepared by staff and signed by the board within 60 days. A 30-day period follows from the date the order is signed, during which any aggrieved party may appeal this board's decision in circuit court. And the recording secretary will email you a copy of the order once it's been signed.
Okay.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next case this evening is a variance application request, VAAP 25-0341, Norris. Mr. Coven, you doing that one as well?
Yes, this one
Okay.
will.
So whenever, just remember, everybody's sworn in, so whenever you're ready.
All right. All right, the second case on the agenda this evening is the Norris Minor Subdivision, VAAP 25-0341. Pursuant to Chapter 20, Section 20.3.3 of the subdivision ordinance, the applicant is seeking a variance from the private road standards of Section 30.14.5.c. The legal ad was printed on February 20th and February 27th, 2026 in the Southern Maryland News. Certified mailings were sent to adjacent property owners located within 200 feet of the project property and those with access through the private right-of-way. Additionally, a public hearing sign was posted on the property and at the corner of St. John's Road and Crier Farm Lane with directionals and distances on or before February 25th, 2026. The owner of the property is Sarah Norris. The property is approximately 8.79 acres and is currently an agricultural parcel that was created in 2001 per the plat 52 at 37. The applicant is proposing a two-lot subdivision which would have access to Crier Farm Lane through a proposed 22-foot access easement. The applicant would like to add the additional lots without having to upgrade either road to the public road standards. This proposal has been reviewed by all agencies and is pending LUGM approval. Property is located at 23698 Robert Norris Lane. The land use of the property is rural preservation. And the property is zoned Rural Preservation District, RPD. This aerial photo shows the property in question. Currently is not developed with any structures on it. And this map shows an aerial image of the property along with both private roads. You have Crier Farm Lane and Robert Norris Lane. The red dots indicate the existing 9 lots that currently have access between these two private roads. And this is the first page of the proposed subdivision plat. This is the second page of the plat, and you can see the two proposed lots. They're referred to as lots 4 and 5. These are just some basic definitions per the subdivision ordinance when it talks about a private road, a lot, and a farmstead lot. And this is table 30.14.6 per the subdivision ordinance. This table has some of the standards for private roads along with other road types. And then the next two slides are some of the design standards for a private road. This is per section 30.14.6 of the subdivision ordinance. And again, this is just a continuation. And then this final slide is the standards for granting a variance through the subdivision ordinance. So with all of that, any questions for myself?
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Coleman?
I do. You're stating that there are 9 lots, but yet on page 3, section 5, part B, it says there are 10 properties served by the private road. So are there 9 or are there 10?
So it appears that there's 9. Was that the staff report that we provided to you?
It says, well, it's under, because I have standards for granting a variance. Go to
Okay.
page 3, and it says that there are 10 properties served by this private road. So I'm
Ms.
not
Reed.
sure if there's 9 or 10.
The 10th one would be the ag parcel.
Say that again, Ms. Clements.
The 10th one would be the ag parcel, which
And
is
which-
not considered a lot per se. But
And which one is that?
that is the one that's being subdivided right now.
Okay, the one that's in question.
So it's really going to go from, since
9.
it's already there at 10, it's really going to go to 11, is what you're saying.
It's an
if
ag
approved.
parcel, exists, currently there are 9 lots on there with one ag parcel accessing it. They're proposing 2 lots off of it, so it'll go up from 9 lots to 11 lots.
Okay, they're not leaving another ag parcel, they're
No,
not, they're
sir.
just leaving the 2 lots.
Correct.
'Cause, man, I was confused.
And the reason the ag parcel was not counted is because ag parcels do not have any building rights. They can't be built on. So right now, that if any development were to occur, they have to go through this subdivision process. There's no getting around that. So that's why we're here this evening.
And they would have to buy TDRs as well, correct?
Correct. They need 2 TDRs with this subdivision.
They need what?
2 TDRs, transferable development rights.
Okay.
So it's going to have to go through the planning commission?
No, it does not need to go to them.
Okay.
Will it no longer be considered ag since it'll be under 10 acres?
So there's no, to the best of my knowledge, there's no specific designation. If a property is like 10 acres or more, it doesn't consider it ag. It was just called an agricultural parcel back in the day when they did that subdivision. A lot of times they may do that for tax purposes, where they create it with the intention of no development. They don't want to have development on there. So at the time, they went through that process going forward, and the applicant at that time knew they had no intention to develop, but now that it's been sold, someone else wants to build on it, they have to go through the subdivision process.
Okay, thank you.
To clarify, because I thought I saw in a picture or paper somewhere, a building, a residence already on one of these properties. There is none, right?
That's correct. There's none.
There's none. Okay.
It's
So they're just setting it up for 2 buildable lots.
Correct.
It was originally set up just for agriculture, it wasn't an agricultural preservation.
No, the zoning's always been rural preservation district.
Okay, okay. But they didn't put that in preservation.
Correct.
Correct, okay. The original owner sold this lot.
Yes, that's my understanding. Yes.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Colvin? I have one. This was subdivided in 2001.
Correct.
And when was the requirement for a minimum of 5-acre lots
So I believe
incorporated into the comprehensive zoning ordinance?
that was the most up-to-date amendment to the ordinance. I believe it was 2010 when the regulations changed, where it was
Okay.
5 acres for the first lot and then 10 acres for every lot after.
Okay. And in 2001, it did not have that requirement.
Correct.
Okay.
I have one more thing. You have that blue arrow on the screen right now that goes to a barn. Is there a house back there that then would also serve a house that we're not seeing?
So those are also ag parcels up there as well. So my understanding is this ag parcel that we're looking at, that you can see it's cut off, there's no house on there as far as I'm aware. And I'm sure the applicant, LSR, is here, and I'm sure they can confirm that to me as well.
Okay.
But my understanding is no, there's no house on there. It's just a barn.
So looking at that, there's another parcel to the right that there's no roads to. Is that part of this same?
That was part of the
Properties?
original overall subdivision when they did those ag parcels. They created multiple ag parcels in 2001. That was one of them.
So what we can see on this overhead, there are 3 of those,
At least 3, yes.
at least 3. How many more are there?
My understanding, and I'm sure Steve will correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there was 5 or 6 ag parcels created at that time. So they created multiple parcels, which they had the right to do. They were able to do that. So now, slowly but surely, they are subdividing at least one of them off to be able to build on it.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? That's all you have, Mr. Colvin? That's all you have? Okay.
Yep, that was it.
Mr. Vaughn, you making a presentation this evening? Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony, responses, and the statements you may give will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And for the record, please.
Steve Vaughn, Little Silences Rest, 41650 Courthouse Drive, Leonardtown, Maryland. Okay. So as Nick said, we're here for the variance request for the Norris property. And that variance request is to access 2 additional lots from Crier Farm Lane on a private road serving 7 lots or more. So this is similar to Nick's slide. We have 9 existing users of Crier Farm Lane and Robert Norris Lane, and we are proposing 2. So the green dots are the existing, and the 2 red dots are what we are proposing this evening. Next slide, please. All right, a few photos of the site. So this is at the entrance, intersection of St. John's Road and Crier Farm Lane. This is at the intersection of Robert Norris Lane and Crier Farm Lane. And this is the extension of Crier Farm Lane beyond Robert Norris Lane. And this is just a photo of the farm field where we are proposing to bring the road to access those 2 lots. And another shot of the farm field where the houses will be. Subdivision plan. So this is just the notes of the plan. Next slide, please. Okay, so we are proposing to come off of Crier Farm Lane and bypass Robert Norris Lane and continue on.
Hold on, Mr. Can
Yeah.
someone trace where you're talking about on this so everyone can
Oh.
see, please?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we have down at the lower left-hand side, we have Crier Farm Lane coming in. And to the north of that, that is Robert Norris Lane. So the plan is to stay on Crier Farm Lane and not use Robert Norris Lane and access the existing 20-foot access easement. And then from there, we are going to go out into the farm field to access those 2 lots with a 22-foot access easement.
Are both lots going to use that access, or is one going to use?
So both will be using, the access for both lots will be off of Crier Farm Lane and not off of Robert Norris
Okay.
So
Lane.
it becomes another private lane.
So it's an extension of Crier Farm Lane. So instead of turning left onto Robert Norris Lane and then making a right onto the property, they're just going to continue straight and then go to the property.
Oh, that way. Okay, I was looking at going that.
No, they got to come this way.
So,
So there's a piece of property that already belongs to someone. Is that right-of-way extended past their property?
that is correct. The right-of-way goes all the way to the back end of their property, and it touches there's an out parcel back there that is owned by Metcom for the Forest Farm development.
Where's that at?
So that is all the way so if we follow the 20-foot right-of-way along that property back to where Stacy has or Nick has the marker. So that's the end of the 20-foot right-of-way right there. And that large property behind this is owned by Metcom, and it's part of the Forest Farm development for their septic system.
Okay. And that's in operation today?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you go back and bring up the last slide showing all the different homes and kind of, because there's a lot of lines on this one.
Sure.
Which slides were you looking for?
Keep going back. I'm sorry. There.
There, this one. There we
If
go.
you can show me on there, because it just
Sure.
seemed like there was a lot of lines on the other one.
Yep. So instead of going up Robert Norris, they're not going to use that. They're going to continue along, yep, right through there. That's where the 20-foot right-of-way is. Just doesn't show up on the GIS map. And then they're going to follow that rear property line of their neighbors, and that's where the access easement will be to serve the two lots.
But the existing 20-foot easement goes all the way back to the corner of their property.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you had said there's going to be a 22-foot access.
So
You're going
we're
to come off a 20-foot to a 22-foot?
so the 22-foot is the minimum allowed for a new access easement in the county ordinance. So that's why so Crier Farm Lane is a 50-foot right-of-way, and then it jumps to a 20-foot right-of-way, and then we are creating a 22-foot right-of-way for the last stretch.
So when did the original coming in Crier Farm Lane was originally a 50-foot right-of-way?
So the 20-foot right-of-way went from St. John's Road all the way to the back of this property, and it actually served that Forest Farm property way back when. And then when these lots were platted on Crier Farm Lane on the south side of Crier Farm Lane, they created a 50-foot right-of-way for those lots. And that stopped at the last lot that's on Crier Farm Lane. So they have a right-of-way over top. There's a 50-foot right-of-way over top of the old 20-foot right-of-way.
And when did Metcom take their portion?
I believe I don't remember when Forest Farms was developed, but it would have been in the late 90s, early 2000s, I believe.
So, and they didn't make them continue that 50-foot?
And they have not used that right-of-way. The old road that goes back there has been abandoned. It's just a roadbed now. We're proposing to, make that a usable driveway for these two lots.
So the other question that we had earlier, Mr. Colvin, how many of these
The ag parcels.
ag parcels do you have? Do we?
So
Can we see what this whole thing looks like?
yeah,
Somehow.
I don't have a copy of the plat, but we probably could bring it up. But I'll just explain it, describe it to you. So there were 4 agricultural parcels that were created in 2001. There was agricultural parcel A, B, C, and D. The 2 agricultural parcels that you can see on the screen here that are beyond our property, they are actually accessed off of St. John's Road, and they don't have access.
Can you show us which ones they are?
Yes. So the 43183 St. John's Road, if you can see that pin on that would be the,
No, it's just this one. Okay, can you point to that so everyone can see what we're talking about,
Yeah.
please?
Yep, bear with me.
okay, so it's
The one up in the,
the upper right corner there.
This one right up here.
That
Yep.
one there.
And is that one going to have to use this road too then,
So
later?
So their access is through another property off of St. John's Road.
Oh,
So not Robert Norris Lane.
okay.
so I guess my question is there any more of these little farm things that you have here tonight that will be able to access either Robert Norris Lane or Crier Farm Lane?
Not tonight. The best of my knowledge.
Let me
I
rephrase my question, okay? Is there any other lots
Later.
that are going to be, that have the ability to utilize either one of those 2 roads? Either one of these farm things?
So they would have to be, the answer is right now, no, because they would have to have the they would have to be granted the right-of-way to use Robert Norris Lane. And right now, they do not. Their access is off of St. John's Road.
Would the GIS show that, Nick?
Sure.
Yeah, bear with me. Let me see if I can pull that up for you. Just bear with me while
Okay.
this is loading up. Okay, so now we have the property up.
Okay. So if you go at Robert Norris Lane, you can see where that blue line follows, and it goes to that one parcel that the barn is sitting on. Will that parcel have the ability to access Robert Norris Lane in the future?
So if you look to the north of that property, you can see it highlighted in blue. So that, as my understanding, is the access of this property is through St. John's Road, through that little strip of land that you can see that goes behind that barn there. That's my understanding of the access. Now, I did not do a title search on that parcel because it's not owned by our clients, but so I can't say whether or not they have access through Robert Norris Lane, but the intended access for the agricultural parcel plat, the way I see it, is it's supposed to come off of St. John's Road. And the address for the property behind that one has a St. John's Road address already assigned to it.
Mr. Colvin, can you see if there's an address on that barn piece of property, please?
So there's no address. This is the STAT page for that property.
The address shows St. John's Road. That would be the frontage, right? Of that
Well,
property?
that would be the
Huh?
that would be the access for that
Correct.
for
Okay.
that parcel.
All right, thank you. I think that helps.
If they do have legal access through Robert Norris Lane, that parcel would have to do the same thing we are tonight. They would have to come here before this board to use that private right-of-way.
I hear what you're saying, Mr. Vaughn.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I followed them lines, that shows me that that road's already there.
There is a road there, and I believe, that's the access for all the farming operations that are going on there. I'm sure that road is used. This is all, Norris family land, so I'm sure they all use it. What the legal right-of-way is, I'm not for certain on that adjoining property.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Vaughn at this time?
Was that the end of your presentation, or do you have some more
So
stuff?
I did just want to touch on the existing road and the condition that it's in. So out at the entrance of the road, it's 24 feet wide, and then it narrows down and it jumps between 10 to 14 foot wide throughout the rest of the road. And there are areas, driveway entrances, and grass areas along that road for people to pull off and get around. So, like as you can see here in this picture, you know, our vehicle is off to the side of the road, and there's room for vehicles to pass, both for the people that live there, and then, you know, in case of emergency vehicle access. So there are areas to pull off for people to get around. Other than that, that's all I have for you this evening. If you all have any questions for me.
Have you ever seen a large operation with the fire service?
No, sir.
Fire truck goes right through there, right?
Yeah. No. Okay. All right. Do we have any written comments on this?
No, we did not
No
receive
written.
any.
Anyone wishing to speak tonight on this case? Seeing none, we'll close to all verbal and written comments. And discussion.
I have a better understanding now when, when I got the packet, so.
One of my biggest concerns is if in fact the board wants to support this one tonight, how many more we're going to have here, okay? How many more little farm lots coming and you're going to divide them up? Since it was done in 2001, they can build on an acre, right?
Potentially, if you had a property that was a parcel of record, they could.
So these little farm lots, agricultural lots you call them.
They would have to go through a subdivision process like
I understand.
this property.
But they could be on a lot, on an acre.
Yes.
There's a lot of potential here on this private road. It's a big concern. And we don't know how many more of these, they do not right this minute, but they could access these two roads. That's my comments, right now.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
could
Yes, sir.
interject for a moment. I do have a question for Mr. Vaughn. Sorry,
Okay.
I know you've, this is a little out of order, but Mr. Vaughn, in the elements to grant the variance, you indicate that the undue hardship or the practical difficulty is related more to a change in the ordinance or regulations. I wanted to make sure the board understood what that statement was directed to.
Yes. So the existing parcel, you know, does not have road frontage on a county or state road, and the existing parcel is served by this private road. But all the lots that were created on this private road, and including when this outlot or ag parcel was created, predate the ordinance. And now that they have this agricultural parcel and they would like to subdivide it, you know, because of the changes to the ordinance, now they don't meet that requirement, even though all of these additional lots that were created, which is now only allowed to be 7, there's already 9 created under the old regulations. And, you know, that was our hardship. We weren't able to use this property for the for the family members to create 2 lots for the children on there, so.
So, Mr. Chair and Board, I guess that I wanted to make sure you understood that's how we got here. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did have a question, sir. It says here on page 2 that please either apply for the family conveyance provision for each lot or upgrade the private road. This is like third, fourth private road thing we've had where the last person comes in, they're responsible to upgrade the road, and we usually hear it's $100,000 to bring it up to the county road. Then we always ask, does that community have a road agreement between
They
everybody?
never do.
Never do.
Correct.
And who's maintaining the roads now and all that? Do you have any insight on that, sir?
So the applicant will certainly have to sign a road maintenance agreement, a part of the county's requirements for subdivision. So they will definitely be part of the, of the road maintenance. So they will be required to sign that document. Yes, sir.
And you said there is a road maintenance agreement?
I don't think there's one currently because all of these lots predated the county requirements. Now, they could have made one on their own behalf, but when we do a new subdivision, one of the requirements is that a road maintenance agreement is signed by the applicant, that they will participate in the road maintenance.
So once again, it's the last guy in gets stiffed, right?
Yeah.
Which could be
So
another.
is the applicant here?
Yes.
Can we swear the applicant in?
Sure.
please?
Which could be another 2 or 3 people.
What-
This could be the last person this time, and then
Could
2
be
more
some
times.
Correct. If I can get you to raise your right hand, please. Do you declare and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony, responses, and statements you may give be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You can have a seat. And I'll need you to speak into the microphone, please. For the record, if you give us your name and address, please.
Sure. Sarah Norris, and I live at 1695 Robert Norris Lane. Hold up. That's my current address.
Pardon me?
I need to give you where I live. I don't live there right now.
Okay.
It's 19569 North Snow Hill Manor Road, Lexington Park, Maryland, 20653.
Thank you. So, Ms. Norris, I guess there's been a couple questions come up. And one of them is do you know if there's a road agreement with the rest of the people that live on that, the rest of the 9 folks that live there on that road?
My father, and then my brother after he passed, we always upkeep the road. So there is an agreement on one, which my husband is showing him right now, but we've never held anybody responsible. We
Okay.
provide the millings and grading the road, all of that.
So everyone that lives there is a Norris?
No.
Or family member?
They're family members, yes.
Okay.
Out on Crier Farm, there's only one's a family member.
On Crier Farm Road?
Yes, that's the one that comes in off of St. John's
And that's got the
Road.
most of the lots.
Yeah,
And that's only one of them there is family?
one is family.
So let me ask you a question. The other parcel that comes in, 43183, is that what it is? St. John's Road, is that owned by the family as well?
Yes.
And the other parcel, can we do have it up? Can you bring it up so she can see? The same thing I'm looking at right here, whatever that is.
Or bear with me, I'm going to bring up
Okay, that's fine.
GIS map up again.
I'm not used to having one of these things in front of us, so we don't have a lot of opposition, okay? This is the first one I can ever remember with these private roads and more lots that we've not had any opposition at all. So there we go. Slide your map down just a little bit. Bring it down some. Other way.
Oh,
Yeah. So over to the far right has an address of St. John's Road, and that's part family.
Yes,
Do they access through St. John's Road?
yes,
Okay. Do they have access off Robert Norris Road?
they bring their farm equipment in and out, we always have.
Okay. The lot next to that, to the left of that, where the blue line is going up to where the barn is that also owned by family?
Yes,
And that accesses St. John's Road?
yes,
So both of those have specific addresses that access St. John's Road.
that is correct.
So at this point in time, they would have no reason to come out Robert Norris Road.
No.
Okay. If that lot was so divided, like the one you're asking for tonight, into a couple more lots, they would actually use St. John's Road.
That is correct.
Okay. Does that help?
Yeah.
That helps clear us.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions for Ms. Norris?
Mr. Chair, we closed the record and then sort of reopened again. It may be worthwhile just to ask the public again if there's
Okay.
anybody that wants to make any more comments.
thanks,
Based
thanks,
on the
sir.
additional
Okay.
testimony we heard.
Fantastic. All right. Anyone else wishing to testify in this case this evening? Do you all have any questions of anyone else out here before we close it again?
No, I think I'm good.
I'm sorry, I reopened that, but that was my fault, so. All right, so we'll close it again now for any written or public comments for the record. Is it good?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Scott.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. Now, do we want to go to discussion? Are we clear
I am.
on pretty much where we are with this? I guess, I mean. are we clear with-
Yeah, this is a good example. Every time we have a hearing about this kind of stuff, it's always a lot of confusion, a lot of, well, this and this and, okay. This is a excellent something for this 2050 that they're talking about to take a look at. You know, the comprehensive whatnot rezoning, because it's a issue that's not going to go away, and it's going to get even more convoluted as the years go by. So I think it's something that should be addressed as well as they can.
Ms. Clemens, can we make a note on that and maybe take it back? That Mr. Payne has an excellent comment here with that. You know, we're getting ready to get into the finalization of this comprehensive plan. And this is another one of those things that we come up against all the time. And it gets convoluted a lot, okay? And it keeps getting added to, and all of a sudden here we have a private road that's really deteriorated, and we got 15 lots back here, you know? And it puts the folks towards the back of it in danger, really, because if they can't get back there with fire suppression or even emergency management or even the police department, you know, I know what you say, the road's in good shape, but that's not for me to say that whether it is or it isn't. So if we could take a look at that and back at the office and see if we can add that into and come up with some sort of an idea and put it out there, see what happens. All right, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Payne, for that. Anyone else have any comments? So I think with the other two parcels that are out back, even if the family so decides to give them to the grandchildren, great-grandchildren, or whatever it may be, I think they have road frontage access to St. John's Road, which would be a much better access than coming through Robert Norris and Crier Farm Lane, in my opinion. As long as they have that, and they come back, if they have to come back in front of us again, then we have that information. Is that correct, Mr. Colvin?
That's correct.
If it happens to subdivide that again into 2 lots or 3 lots, those other 2, it has to come here.
That's correct.
And we would have that on record.
Yes.
So I think that kind of puts, I won't say a stop, but a slowdown to any more parcels coming to these 2 roads. The only thing we're adding tonight, if I read this correctly, is we're only adding one more lot. Okay, we're dividing that parcel up into 2, which has already had 1, in the 1 itself, so we're only adding 1. In my calculations, does that seem
And
right?
the fact that that alternate route is one that's being used, it's not one that's deteriorating too.
Correct.
So, I mean, it's,
Right.
makes it, you have 2 viable, well, a viable entrance on the alternative.
Yes. So, I don't know that I have a heartache with this tonight at all. I think it's feasible, and it's only adding, in my opinion, 1 more lot. I would support it if that's the way the committee would like to go. Any other comments? Mr. Payne, any comments? No. Then we open for a motion.
In the matter of VAAP 25-0341, Norris Minor Subdivision, having made a finding that the granting of the variance is in accordance with the purpose and intent of the St. Mary's County subdivision ordinance, I move to approve the variance request to add 2 additional lots to be served by Crier Farm Lane and Robert Norris Lane without upgrading either road to public county road standards.
Have a motion on the floor?
Second.
Second, and we'll start with Mr. LaRocco.
Aye.
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 Aye. So you can see that the board has voted unanimously to support your request this evening, okay? A order reflecting the board's decision will be prepared by staff and signed by the board within 60 days. And a 30-day period follows once the order is signed, in which any aggrieved party may appeal this board's decision in circuit court, and the recording secretary will send you a copy of the order once it's been signed. Okay? Have a good evening. Good
All
luck.
right, thank you.
Anyone need to take a break before we get started?
Yeah, I thought Nick did a good job. Good job. Appreciate you. And Mr. Payne, it's good to have you back, sir.
Yep.
Thank you.
Come on, stop congratulating Nick.
Does anyone need to take a break before we get going on this other one?
Yeah, let's take a
Okay.
5-minute
Can we take a 5-minute break, please?
Call
Okay.
recess.
Okay. So let's
Stretch my legs.
The way Mr. Scott was looking, I thought he was trying to tell you he wanted to take a break.
You're fine. You did fine. Yep. Most definitely did.
All right, we're back in session, and our last case this evening is a variance request, VAAP 25-0350, the Dennis Point Marina. And just for the record, Ms. Clements has been sworn in when we did the first go-around, so.
And, Mr.
And
Chair,
Mr. Scott?
so this owner and applicant is a client of my office. As soon as we found out they needed a variance, I referred them to Mr. Longmore, and I have not been involved in the substance or preparation or any of the proceedings they've gone through to get to this point. But since they're a client of our office in other aspects, I'm going to recuse myself and place you in the very capable hands of Mr. Hauser.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Wow. Good representation, yeah.
Yeah, now I'm gonna sit at this little desk like I'm doing it a favor.
You are. Welcome, Mr. Hauser. Okay. Ms. Clements, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Okay. Tonight's third public hearing is the variance application VAAP 25-0350 Dennis Point Marina. They are requesting a variance from St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance, Section 71.8.3B1, to impact the critical area buffer to replace an existing trailer with a new building. The legal advertisement was printed on February 20th and February 27th, 2026 in the Southern Maryland News, and certified mailings were sent to the adjacent property owners located within 200 feet of the project property. A public hearing sign was also posted on the property on or before February 25th, 2026. The owners of the property is Dennis Point Holdings, LLC, and the property consists of 182.15 acres and currently has a driveway, 6,000 square feet of existing buildings. And let's see, it is zoned, pardon me, the property is located at 46555 Dennis Point Way in Drayton, is the main office. But its land use is rural preservation, tidal wetlands, and marine use. Okay. This is the marine use. These spots here in green are the tidal wetlands, and this is the rural preservation, since we have three different. Okay. The zoning for this property is rural preservation and commercial marine. And the critical area for this property is resource conservation, shown in green, and limit development area, shown in yellow. Okay, we have the existing conditions. This is the existing trailer that is proposing to be removed, that is located within the 100-foot buffer depicted in pink here on the map. Okay. The applicant is requesting a variance for a storage building and a sidewalk in the 100-foot buffer. The Critical Area Commission is opposing the application, stating the proposed facility does not meet the definition of a water-dependent facility as defined by our zoning ordinance. The commission has determined the project has a clear and practical alternative that would avoid the buffer impacts and negate the need for a variance, and thereby meeting the intent of the critical area program. Now, agencies have completed and approved the project are Department of Economic Development, the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, the Fire Board, and the Maryland Department of the Environment. Agencies that have returned comments are the Health Department, Land Use and Growth Management, and the Soil Conservation District. Okay, now we have the proposed site plan. And here, okay, this is site plan detail Right here's the existing trailer that they are proposing to remove. Right here. And they're proposing a 24 by 48 river recreational center with a walkway right here. Okay, and as always, a buffer management plan will be approved by Lugum staff prior to the issuance of the building permit. Is there any questions for staff?
I have one. One's page 2, section 4, first paragraph.
Okay.
Why does it state that the property was recorded after, in December 10, 2024? Because I know that property was there back in the 70s.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull up the staff report. I should always have one up with you, Miss Rita. Okay. Okay, which section was it again?
It's going to be page 2, section 4, right
Page-
there.
Okay.
You're on the wrong one. That's on Crier Farm.
Oh. You're right, I'm sorry.
You passed the test.
So-
What?
You passed the test.
You did. Let's see.
You read it.
I won.
Okay. Okay, page 2. Are you talking about right here?
Yes.
The first bullet point? Okay. It was recorded December, we had a plat that was recorded at Plat Book 82, page 72, December 10th, 2024. And at that time, it showed all the environmental impacts on the property with that platting. So anything, it showed all the environmental impacts. That way, if,
I guess I don't understand why it was saying that it's, well, maybe it could have been re-recorded, but if the Dennis Point Marina, and I know the buildings were there in the 70s.
Right.
That's what I was confused with. Why
Right.
does it state that?
exactly. And the plat that was recorded 2 years ago would show those existing buildings as where they're at, impacting the 100-foot buffer in this case.
Why is it re-recorded?
May I interject?
Sure.
Pulled up, plats are accessible through the GIS to
Mm-hmm.
be able to go through that land records. It does indicate that what was recorded in December of 2024 was a boundary line adjustment plat to adjust the property lines that were already existing. So either there were property improvements on there for whatever reason, maybe the applicant can testify to that. They just wanted to shift property lines around a little bit at that time.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
I have a simple little question. If they were to bring in a trailer with the same footprint and drop it in where the old one would critical area be even commenting on this? Since it's a like same? No different than if you were fixing it up?
It would also require a variance for impacts to the 100-foot buffer.
For same item in the same footprint? I'm not, because this is a
We do
permanent
not
building as
have,
opposed to
St. Mary's County does
transferable
not
one.
have replacement in kind language in our zoning ordinance.
Can you say that again, please?
Our zoning ordinance does not have replacement in kind language.
Should we add that, like Mr. Payne said earlier, this comprehensive review? Maybe add something in there for that?
I do know that there will be a critical area update to the zoning ordinance for the critical area portion of it, and we can definitely look into replacement in kind language.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have any questions? Mr. Vaughn. So you've been sworn in earlier, so we'll continue with that, all right?
Okay.
All right. Mr. Longmore, welcome.
Good evening. Nice to see you.
Yes.
It wouldn't be an evening without him, would it?
Yeah, it's our
What else
two.
did I do?
Always here.
These two get frequent flyer mileage here.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
All right. So this variance is for Dennis Point Marina. We're requesting a variance to disturb the critical area buffer to replace an existing trailer with a kayak and paddleboard rental facility. So it's not just a storage facility, but that is our intent. So here's a photo of the overall site, and just to touch on that boundary line adjustment plat. So the original property was approximately 60 acres, and they increased that to a little over 180 acres for the entire property. So that's the reason for the recording of the plat in 2024, to expand upon the property area of Dennis Point Marina.
But they have two different property.
It is split zoned. So the original portion of the property is zoned commercial marine, and the other portion is zoned rural preservation district.
Okay.
All right, next slide, please. A few photos of the site. So this is the existing trailer and structure. It used to be under the old ownership. This was the marina office that was used for the marina operation there. It has since been moved to the same building as the restaurant, the main building on the property. So this is a view of the roadside of the existing trailer. Next slide, please. And another view of the existing trailer. And this is a view from the existing trailer down to the piers and docks. And this is the waterfront in front of the existing trailer, where we would like to replace that with the building there. All right, next slide. So just to talk a little bit about water dependent facilities, we're asking for a variance this evening from the disturbance to the critical area buffer. But we did want to just touch on water dependent facilities. So I'll just read this definition out of the St. Mary's County zoning ordinance. Permitted water dependent facilities include those structures or works associated with industrial, maritime, recreational, educational, or fisheries activities that cannot exist outside of the critical area buffer and are dependent on the water by reason of intrinsic nature of their operations. Water-dependent facilities include, but are not limited to, charter fishing facilities, public docks, ramps, railways, boatyards, marinas, motels, commercial piers, and ports and marine terminals, industrial and port-related facilities, intake and outfall structures for power plants, water use industries, public beaches, and public water-oriented recreation areas and fisheries activities. So we feel that we meet the requirements for a water-dependent facility. Unfortunately, Critical Area Commission does not, so that's the purpose for our variance this evening. We feel that, this is a marina. We have an accessory use to the existing marina. We're utilizing the same area where the existing marina office was, and the intrinsic nature of what we're using the operation for kayak rentals is certainly dependent on the water. So that was our take on it. And this is also it is privately owned, but it's certainly a public recreation area for people to come down, and they're certainly welcome to come down and, use the marina and the kayak rentals.
So does the county have a specific definition for marinas?
They may. I do not know offhand. I have to look
I know
through
there's
the.
in the use table, there's a marina that has a description of it. I don't know if it's a definition, per se.
But that's, with this, just saying marinas, and you saying part of this is marina related.
Yes.
Then whatever the county's zoning ordinance says a marina is, we should hear that.
Yeah, and while we're looking that up, one of the things, I'll say just for the record while we're looking it up, our client hasn't waived the right to come back in and say this is a water dependent facility. If so, there wouldn't be the need for the variance we're asking for tonight.
Can you repeat that for me?
We would not need the variance tonight if this was a water dependent facility. There's another way to get that approval and allow it within the buffer. And the need for this variance would either be alleviated or be a different type of variance. We think that this definition would allow us to proceed under this definition, and working with staff and getting the critical area comments, we thought it more prudent to come before you tonight and ask for a variance because we think we meet those standards as well. So that it's not as big of a fight with the critical area commission, just to be blunt.
So just so I understand, if it was what you said, if it was a water-dependent facility, that you wouldn't be here.
Right.
Okay.
We
Could you have gone that way?
We think it is a water-dependent facility. We're not waiving the right to make that argument later if for some reason the variance is not granted tonight, is what I'm putting on the record and making sure is clear. We haven't had a formal decision of that yet. We don't have a 30-day appeal period that I'm aware of where we'd have to appeal that decision.
So why would you go this right instead of the other right, you wouldn't have to come here?
Well, because the critical area commission was opposing it, and we believe we also meet the standards for the variance. So there's two ways we can kind of skin the cat in this. We think we meet the standards for a variance anyway. So we thought that was a more prudent way to do it since we meet it, and we thought it'd be better to come before you this evening than having to appeal that decision to you, tonight. We may have to later if we don't get the variance, but that's where
Sir, can I ask a question? Mr. Longmore, so I think what you're saying is if you go to fight this water dependent facility classification, it probably costs your client more money and time.
I think it would, and I think there'd be a little bit more controversy on it, even though we disagree with the opinion we've gotten from the critical area commission. We believe we meet the standards for the variance. We're replacing an existing building that can stay there. There's a little bit more square footage, but it's cleaning up the property. All the standards we need to prove. I've heard talk about the 2050 comprehensive plan within our current one and the language that's being proposed. One of the things we want are these water facilities, these marinas in the county. We see that as a good economic engine and a good use that people that live here want as well. This applicant, this isn't the first project they're going to have on this site. They're new to the marina, newer to the marina in the last couple of years, and they have a lot of plans to really improve this so it'll be a real asset to the community. This is really the first step in that. So you're right. I think it would have been a harder route to go. We saw the route to go the variance because we think we can meet those standards, and that's why we're here before you tonight.
Well, let me make it clear. You're just renting the kayaks. You're not selling them. There's no off sales.
Correct.
So that ties it closer to the water.
Right. It's
as
free.
opposed to being 200 yards away. What
Right.
sort of clientele do you even have? I mean, this poor 80-year-old guy probably needs 2 men and a boy to help him take the kayak down, okay? Or do you have some process of transporting them down? I mean, normally a person just picks it up and carries it and the 50 or 60 feet is slightly different than 200 or 300 yards, as
Well, it's
proposed
already-
by critical area.
It would be out of the buffer at 100 feet, right?
Well, I mean, that's what critical area is trying to drive them to.
Right. Right. And we think, you know, for some of the practical reasons why it's a good location there is for some of what you said. It's easier access for folks. It's an accessory use to the marina that's there. The folks that are docked there with their boats can come and rent a kayak if they want to do that. The folks that are at the restaurant can do it, and the public will have that access as well. If we move it further back, this is an active marina that does have boat launches. It has a road down there. This is a good, safe way to store those and to rent those, we think, as well. It's a good location for it. If there were not an existing building there, we wouldn't be here today. But even though there's a little added square footage, you can see what's there and what they have the right to keep there. So this really is kind of the question of, can you replace that with the exact same thing? And even that would be opposed. This is very similar to that, but cleaning up what's there, using it for a good use that's compatible with the environment and with the commercial marine use that's there. That's the real reason why our client is proposing this.
Can you bring up the overhead picture of the marina again?
Yes.
And where is the,
2023.
And the 100-foot buffer would be back about where?
Approximate.
so you'd have to put it on the other side of that road,
For all practical purposes, yeah, where the
Right.
boat storage is.
and you have people driving through there.
Where does that road go to?
That goes back out to what's the name of that road?
That goes back out to Drayden Road.
No.
Oh,
The
I'm
road
sorry.
right behind the trailer.
That's the boat ramp
So where's the boat ramp?
Right there.
right there.
Is that the same area they'd put in the,
Yes.
So how much room do you have between the pink and the road?
So between there we go. Stacy's got it.
Down some? No, that's not the one, right? It's the one over here, a little down further, not there.
That one?
No. Come down to the building down below, right?
The building,
Come on down, bring your cursor down,
Come on, straight down.
straight down, and over to your left.
Left.
That's the building there, right? Is that the building?
No,
those are
boats.
boats.
Those are just boats.
This is the building right
Okay.
here.
yeah, that's it.
Can you
It's kind of
measure
an L
the 100
shape.
feet?
Pardon?
Can you measure the 100 feet from the critical area?
Okay, you want 100 feet. Do you want the 100-foot buffer measured out?
No, keep going. I wanted from the other direction,
Okay. Where would you like me to start?
from where the P is and point. Yep,
And where would
and
you
go
like,
towards the boats,
towards the boats?
other boats that are out in the parking
Oh,
area.
out here?
Yeah.
Matt, just to interject for point of clarity, Ms. Weaver, the pink layer is the critical area buffer. That is the 100 feet.
Right, I just
Did
wanted
they-
her to
okay.
go, I meant the other, like, the other direction. I just wanted to see where it was to the parking area. No, come back,
To the parking area.
Parking area is down in here.
just across that road. Right there.
Boat storage.
Okay.
So you're increasing the distance double to carry that kayak?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
And it is across that road. And again, there is a boat ramp there too. So I think the location that's being proposed of replacing the existing lot coverage that is basically already there and adding a little bit, we're not.
So is that boat ramp a public boat ramp?
I can let the applicant, or you may know.
I believe I know the answer to this. So it's public access, but it's privately owned. So I believe you have to pay a fee to use it.
But it's not like a county facility.
I understand.
It's not-
I understand. But it is open to the public. Like Solomon's is, open to the public, but you pay a fee.
Yeah, I believe so. We have our client here that can confirm that. Yeah, so that is correct, and we can swear I'm our client in if you like. That is correct.
And the access for the kayaks mostly are just walk down the ramp, right?
Right.
Looking at that shoreline,
Right.
they didn't throw it over there.
Right.
Looks like some good sized trees right there too. Just the big one there.
Right, over there behind it, sort of
Yeah.
on the landward side, all
Yeah.
around it, really.
I think depending on the size of the tree, you gotta get permission to cut them down, you know?
Yeah, yes, yeah, yes.
Plus, we have a hurricane.
Yeah.
Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are no trees proposed to be removed with this?
So we do not plan on taking out any of those trees around the,
Yeah, I was just saying in that 100 foot, if you sat right outside that 100 foot, you'd have to cut that big tree down.
So can we go back and look at the pictures of the trailer? Because you have pictures on both
Yes.
sides, and there's trees right up against the trailer.
there are, so they did plant some ornamental to just block it. But the native trees that are around it, we do not plan on taking out any of those.
So it's evergreen.
Yes.
By definition, are these trees we see in here really aren't trees? Because they're not certain diameter at the base?
So they are ornamental trees. I'm not sure what the diameter of those trees are today. But they were planted by the applicant to block that off.
Can you show the other picture? It had the other size, like of the trees, or I think you just had them.
And same thing. Yeah.
No, there was another
Oh,
one you guys
sorry.
just flipped through. Those are pretty good size.
Yeah, there's some large trees near it, but we don't plan on taking any of those out.
Right.
And the boat ramp is in between those two piers?
Yes, sir.
Utilities and everything are already run to the site where the trailer was. There's no need to do any further disturbance for that. It's already
So
run.
how much more square footage are we talking from one building to the other?
So the existing trailer and structure was 1,096 square feet. We are proposing 1,152 square feet, so 56 square feet larger.
It's basically not squaring it off, but rectangle. You saw it was an L shape,
Right.
the old trailer. So it's making it full size there. You can see the blown up site plan there. And it's no closer to the water than the existing trailer either. Steve was very careful in
And-
the design of that.
You know, we've talked about the distance and stuff like that. Was any conversation with the client to even just get rid of that piece and just move it back some? Didn't even get half of it out of the buffer?
So we did discuss that. On the other side of the road there is used for outdoor storage of.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about on the other side. I'm talking
Oh.
about bringing it right up to the road. You got 25 feet or so there. To come and you get at least half of it out of the buffer.
So there's trees there, and there's also there's a septic system that is right there as
Can
well.
you show us what that's at? I'm asking these questions for a
Yes, sir.
reason.
Yeah,
Okay.
certainly. Yeah.
And real quick, while they're looking that up, does that sidewalk count against the square footage you're asking for?
So the
'Cause
building
it looks
is,
smaller on the top
So-
of that.
yeah, so the building itself is 1,152 square feet, and then there's also an additional proposed sidewalk there. And that square footage is 96 square feet.
So it looks like the building part's smaller than what's there, somewhat.
Yeah, so it's the same width, and we've pulled it closer to the road going to the boat ramp. So it is, because of the L-shaped of the other, it's just a little tiny bit bigger than the existing.
Looking
So,
up the septic, I guess.
so the existing septic system and tanks, that they are in between, so where Stacy has her cursor, from there, and then they go up along the side of the trailer. So all the way to the other end of the trailer, there's a septic tank and a septic line right there.
And where are your fields?
The field runs from where she has her cursor now, and then up to almost to the end of that building, to the existing building.
Will you be hooking back up the septic?
No, so this is only going to be electric only on this building.
So you're going to abandon the septic?
Yes.
So it wouldn't
But-
make any difference then if you moved it back some?
We would prefer not to put it over top of the existing septic tank, but
But that could come out, and you could get a settled land there, so. I mean, that's not a big deal to do that. But I think the biggest deal that we're looking at is the buffer, you know? And if there's any way possible that we could do something, I think it would be beneficial to both. Because if you get it halfway out of the buffer, then only half of your mitigation for a piece of it, okay? So you're saving a lot on your mitigation as well, if you can get partial of that out of there.
It would adjust it some. Of course, it'll still be in the critical area, just not in the buffer, so there'll still be, but you're right.
Yeah,
It would adjust.
but it goes down
Right, it would
by-
adjust the factor, certainly understand.
by quite a bit. And I think that's, you know, sometimes it's a lot easier to move forward with some of that positive stuff for the critical area than it is to just stand firm. I guess that's what I'm looking at here.
Certainly understand that.
With, you know, and the critical area, when they respond, they don't specifically, I don't believe they specifically look at just at that. They look at the 160-some acres or whatever it is, and they say, you got room to take it all out. But looking at the site that you have, they probably haven't, I'm putting words in their mouth again, I shouldn't do that, but the way I see this thing is that you're constrained a little bit where you are by the roadway. I wouldn't want you to have to do anything to that road at all, but if and you're not going to use the septic, and that can be removed and abandoned, and if there's a way to move some of that foundation out of that critical area.
And certainly, I mean, the couple of thoughts, I have, one, to removing the septic, that would be more disturbance to the critical area, so it'd be, in some ways, a different although it's a temporary disturbance, but that would be part of something else that would need to be there. The other point that I think is worth making is that there's nothing preventing the applicant from leaving the trailer there and using it for some other use, and then putting a kayak building back there and adding even more lot coverage within the 1,000 feet. This really, in my mind, is replacing something almost a little more square footage, but not tremendously, not moving any closer to the water than is there now. So it's really, they're allowed to keep what they got. So this really is a replacement, like you were talking about. We don't have a specific provision in our ordinance, but I know this board has seen replacements of houses and other structures in the buffer over and over again, as long as you don't get closer, as long as you don't make more of an environmental impact. And oftentimes the new construction and buildings and the stormwater that'll be part of it is more environmentally friendly than living in an old
And
trailer.
a lot of what we looked at, Mr. Longmore, you know as well as I do, has been residential stuff. You know, you replace residential with residents and things like that, not an accessory structure, you know, in a commercial setting.
Certainly.
So-
No, and those are the examples I can think of
Right,
as well. When you look at the environmental impact, though, I think it's the same, really, because they're worried about lot coverage, not about the use within it, the critical area. So this is analogous to those cases that if we were coming in and proposing a lot more square footage than what's there that would have that runoff impact, I have a hard time seeing how this is going to be any more harmful, and it'll probably be better because of the modern design and the what's there now. You can see the condition it's in. Instead of keeping that there, adding this, I've always thought that the replacement with the more modern structures with the stormwater way that they do it, and the downspouts, and doing a better design is better for the environment than worse for it. But I know the critical area has its rules and regs.
Right.
That are there.
And we just have to look at everything. So.
Certainly. No, and we respect that. Keep going.
Mr. Vaughn,
All right. All right. Now, let's see. It gets back to the slides here.
Apologies.
All
you
right.
want to give us the definition that
Oh, the marina.
of the marina?
The marine.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay, our use type definition for marina is 104. So it's 51.3, 104. It's a facility for launching, mooring, berthing, storing, or securing 10 or more watercraft. May include support facilities such as fuel sales, management offices, parking, hauling, or ramp, sewage pump out facilities, restrooms, and amenities provided for slip holders such as swimming pool or other recreational area. Provisions of marine services, maintenance and repairs and repair services, major lodging, restaurants, retail sales, and commercial recreation and entertainment allowed as accessory uses in zones where permitted by this ordinance. So we are in the RPD, commercial marine, which is permitted. Okay?
And respectfully, Mr. Chairman, that's part of that language is why I think we have a real good argument.
Well, that's what I was going to ask Mr. Vaughn. So where do you fit in there?
So on the last sentence there, it says, commercial recreation and entertainment allowed as accessory uses in zones where permitted by this ordinance. This is an accessory use to the existing marina for commercial recreation, rental of kayaks and paddleboards.
I mean, if you can have a swimming pool there for the use of the folks that are docked there, I don't see how that's less of an impact than a.
That's
than
why I
a
asked you to
kayak
look it up,
rental.
because I think I read this thing
Yeah, the
early
recreation.
on, and I
And
think,
that's why we think we have a really good argument.
okay.
The way I read the critical area comments was that they were more adamant about it not being a water-dependent facility. And I know they had their opinions about the variance as well. I'm not meaning to dismiss that. We've all seen 10-page letters from the critical area. I saw their objections on that were similar to other objections to most of the variances that come before you in the critical area. On the water dependent is where they really seem to take a hard stance. So we don't mind challenging that, but again, we'd rather save our client the time and money to do that. So given the nature of this property, along with the fact that there's a very minimal adding of square footage and it's not being any closer to the water, we think all those things taken together really do support the request tonight.
Okay. You can continue if you got other stuff to present.
All right. So just a few examples of other similar facilities for boat storage and kayak rentals. The boathouse that was constructed at St. Mary's College is well within the critical area buffer, and it's used for storing small sailboats and dinghies. And then there's also a kayak rental facility at Point Lookout State Park at their park office, and they have an area enclosure for where they store their kayaks next to it, which also lies within the critical area buffer. And there's also other commercial marinas in the county, two that I know of that offer kayak rentals, Point Lookout Marina and also Colton's Point Marina. Both offer kayak rentals, and obviously they store the kayaks somewhere. I just don't know.
They were existing facilities, right?
So
tell me about the Point Lookout one. That's more interesting to me than the others.
So Point Lookout Marina, I am sure that the buildings that are shown in the buffer existed prior to critical area regulations, but the kayak rental use is fairly new, and it would be after the critical area regulations. But that is also a state
They would put up
park.
a different storage area for that?
So their storage area, and you can in this small picture, it's hard to see, but next to the building with the address oval, there's an enclosure right there, and you can see that's where you can see the kayaks in that storage area within the buffer.
We have no way of telling when that was put in, do we?
We can go through the aerial, but it's also, there's,
I don't want to put you through a whole lot.
No,
I was hoping the answer was yes.
trying to, I'm trying to. Okay, let's see. Point Lookout State Park, correct?
Yes.
Off Lake Kenoi.
It's all the way at the south end. There you go.
Talking about this
Yes.
building right here. Or that area.
When
yeah,
do-
fenced in.
Parking lots in the buffer.
Load.
Ms. Clements, cut to 1980.
There we go. It's a good picture.
It's taken before they had filters on the camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Hauser, was there a reason you picked that date?
1980 was the most recent aerial photograph on the GIS maps that predate the critical area program's implementation in 85.
Thank you. So can you see it there, Mr. Vaughn, that you were talking about in that picture?
So you can see in 1998, that enclosure, and then you see all those, at that time, I believe they were renting boats, but now it's kayaks instead of boat rentals.
And which enclosure are you talking about?
So it's that area there.
Okay.
So the opposition from the Critical Area Commission was the storage of kayaks within the buffer, and that's why I wanted to show this, just to show that
And the 1980 didn't show that, did it?
correct.
Okay. Okay, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Clements. I know we've had a lot of interruptions. I hope you remember where you left off.
All right, so again, these are just a couple of examples, just to touch on the boathouse at St. Mary's College a little bit. So that was constructed after the critical area regulations were in place. I believe that building was built in 2001 for the St. Mary's College. And again, it's the same thing. They're storing boats within the 100-foot buffer.
Okay.
All right, next slide, please. And then just a copy of the site plan. So we've kind of already touched on most of the points. I just wanted to reiterate that, you know, we are no closer to the water with the proposed building and almost in the same footprint as what's existing there now. All right. Next slide, please. And then this just shows the overall property, and you can see that we're in the commercial marine zone portion of the property, adjacent to the existing marina. All right, next slide, please. And this is just the detail of it. So same thing. I think that's all I have. If Chris has anything else.
I mean, I think we've kind of hit the highlights of what we're thinking. I mean, if our client had chose to continue to run the marina office out of that trailer in this location, I don't think there's anything preventing them from running kayaks out of that at the same time. They really are proposing to replace that building with a very similar sized building, really in the same footprint to a large degree, just in a different shape. We don't have a in-kind swapping like Ms. Clements said, where we could do it without a variance, but we do have the right to ask for a variance on doing it. And when you look at all the standards, and Steve submitted his letter addressing all of them, the thrust of the critical area ordinance is to look at what's there now and what they're allowed to keep versus what we're proposing. This is a new building, but it's a new building replacing an old building, so the lot coverage is essentially going to be a wash for, pardon the using that verb, but it's basically going to be 1-for-1 on it. So we really do think this is reasonable given the location, the proposed use, the limitations of the existing roads and storage on it. And we just think this is the best and safest place to allow this and allow this individual that's investing a great deal in our county, promoting this type of facility that I know our economic development office and our comprehensive plans encourage the development of these marinas and these type of uses within our county, and we think this would be a good addition to it. So that's essentially our points. We're happy to answer any other questions.
Do you know if there are any other counties, like whether it's up in Annapolis or Calvert or Charles, that have in-kind replacements on the water and the state does not have a problem?
Do you know that's it?
I do not know it off the top of my head, no.
Comar, Comar does have provision where it will authorize in-kind swapping, but only for a principal structure on a property within the buffer. An accessory structure or supporting structure cannot qualify for in-kind replacement without a variance.
But you can rebuild a boathouse in the same footprint.
It applies to both development and redevelopment within the buffer. Again, unless it's the principal structure on the property by Rita Comar, the provision, which was 27.09.03, I think, 27.010301. No, that's
If I remember
silly,
correctly.
But anyways.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah. Any other questions? Mr. Payne,
What's that?
any questions?
No.
Okay. Anything else?
No, the one other thing I'll mention, there are, I believe, 5 or 6 letters in the public
Yeah, I'm
record.
getting ready to get to that. Yep.
That were
Yep.
submitted. I know you may be
Yep.
getting there,
Yep.
but just didn't want to fail to mention.
All right. So we'll open the public testimony, and as Mr. Longmore said, we had 6 letters that
Yes.
came in, and all 6 were in favor of supporting the application tonight.
Right.
And I
They
know
were
a
in-
couple of them, and I think they were neighbors, adjoining property owners.
Yes.
Do you know about the rest of them? Were they all adjoining property owners?
I'm not sure. I don't think all of them gave addresses, but I can double check. Okay, we've got Captain Pat Restaurant that's right there on the property. The second one is Orwath.
Restaurant. Yeah, that was the first one.
Okay, this one does not have an address.
Could keep on, is it fall down as good, huh?
Pardon?
That's okay, no, I'm just thinking to myself,
Okay.
thinking out loud.
See the third one, Meinhardt.
He's the adjacent property owner.
Okay. Towson.
Point Way.
Yep,
Yep, Dennis Point Way,
yep.
adjacent property owner. Doesn't have a local.
Ten Top Roof Shop, he's in Mechanicsville, right?
Right.
Right. I believe it lists there that there's a campsite there that they use on the property.
Oh,
there.
probably,
So I think
That's
they-
right, there we
they
go,
have a
campsite
relationship.
number 37.
Yep, okay.
And then the last one, Mr. Young. Family owns the property as Windmill Point Farm, adjacent to the marina.
So there's 5 out of the 6 of them that are adjacent property owners.
Yep.
So evidently, they must be seeing something good going on at the property to give those kind of comments.
I believe so, and I mean, we're really proud to represent this client because I think they really have a good plan for the marina and redeveloping it. I mean, I've heard so much about the restaurant thriving there now. You know, I see it on social media, and I have friends that go there a lot that do it. I think it's bringing that back to life a little bit, and it's in an area of the county that it's great to have this type of
Right.
use
So,
in the marina.
and the board is very concerned about the critical area. Okay, so that's why we did dive so deep into this,
Certainly.
to help
No.
protect what we have. And it looks like your client is trying to do the same thing, my opinion, okay, what I see so far in the comments that we received. So, but anyway, so we got open to public testimony. We got those 6 out of the way. Is anyone wishing to testify here in this case this evening? Seeing none, we'll close the public written and verbal comment. And any other questions you may have from the applicant?
Have you, I know that, I guess the thing is some of it I'm kind of going back and forth on, because I would think that if you're going to remove that one structure, it would be less disturbance, than, digging up a whole new area. But also I'm looking at, if you put it back further, because you're having to, rebuild anyway, and you keep it on, I guess I'd be concerned keeping it on this side of the road towards the water. Have you looked at, would there be a place that would be easily accessible without going across the road to where all the boats are parked?
So the other areas that are outside of the buffer, that they're farther away from where the actual access point to the where the kayak would actually be launched into the water from. So if we moved it farther north, there's also roads over there because there's a existing cottage over there. So we feel that this is the best possible location for it on the site.
What is on this other side, but I guess that would still be in the critical area.
So there's a playground next to the parking area.
Oh, okay.
Can you point that out to us?
Yes. That area right there, yes.
Okay. I don't know, I just thought it would be if we could move that building back just a little and get at least part of it out of that buffer, it would be kudos. But
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling
Right.
with is, moving it back, I would still keep it on the side of the road.
oh yeah,
but-
absolutely. I wouldn't want to go across the road.
Yeah,
But you got probably 25 feet where I saw that, or better, that you can move it back some and still get part of it out of the buffer. No matter what, you still got to dig foundations, whether you dig them where it's at or whether you dig them back further.
right.
So it's just the same amount of construction, basically.
Yeah,
Invasive construction, I should say, for the foundation stuff, so.
I think there's that side of it, and the other side is them being allowed to keep what's already there. There's nothing saying they couldn't try to fix up the trailer and rent kayaks out of that. So that's the part that makes it a little absurd that you can't replace it in the same place in the same footprint.
Right. Well,
Because
I
it's a
guess,
lot less
I guess
impact.
the thing of it is that there's a big concern with a lot of activity in the buffer itself,
Certainly.
as well as should be, because not everybody takes care of it as well as some others.
Right.
So I'm just looking at both areas here, there was any way that they could back it up, your client could back it up. I don't know.
Can you put up the critical area again?
A 100-foot buffer?
Yes.
So even if you take it back and put half of the width of the 24, was it 24 by what?
24 by
48.
If you put 12 foot of it outside the buffer, you still got another 10 foot before you get to the road. If I estimate it pretty close there. And you're half out, you saving half on your mitigation, and
So just
probably could stay away from
Critical area.
Having
critical
to do a
areas.
lot of other
Right.
things.
Future litigation.
I'm just trying to do the best for both worlds here. Look at best for both worlds here. And, if there's anything that you think, Mr. Vaughn, Mr. Longmore, that your client could meet us halfway there with that.
So on this aerial photo, we see the 100-foot buffer in pink here. So when we did our survey, we located the shoreline, and if you could go back to that detail of our site plan, just to show where the actual 100-foot buffer is. So you can see the pavement is the blue line with the 3 little dashes.
Yep.
And you can see that that buffer goes all the way up to that turn in that road, which leads to that cottage. So, if we were to try to keep it on this same side of the road, we would have to be up in that.
If that's your true line for the buffer that you'll measure it from mean
Yes.
high water?
Yes, sir.
From the existing mean high
Existing
water?
high water, yeah.
So, Ms. Clements, what you showed us as the buffer, how old is that, do you know? Is that current?
You're talking about on the GIS?
In the pink, yeah.
Yes, no, that is approximate.
Approximate.
Yes, sir.
So if he did a measurement from
Ex-
mean high water
Correct.
currently, it shows closer to the road than what you show it.
Correct.
Is that possible?
And that's definitely possible.
Okay, all right.
Yes,
then
we would take
Point taken.
the surveyors, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm a little bit more relaxed in seeing it that way.
Okay, and on the other side, it comes up all the way. Oh, no, it doesn't come up all the way. Okay.
I'm gonna play. Give you a little wider view there.
There's one, it's been bugging me. On the top of the drawing there, it says existing trailer to be removed. And yet you're saying it's a greater square footage. I don't understand it seemed to me that you're decreasing it from that diagram.
Yep, so in the middle of that building, there's a gray line
Yeah.
that comes in as an L shape.
Oh, I didn't see that L shape in the
Yeah,
middle that you were
yep.
talking about. Okay, never mind. It was a good sales point anyway.
Does a playground count as a problem being in the critical area? Like if they move that playground?
Stacy, did you want to?
Please say that again, Ms. Rita?
They have a playground on the other side there.
Right,
Over there.
located approximately
If
right
they've
here.
relocated that playground, is that once again, okay, well, you can't do that because it's,
Unless there is material placed underneath of it that would be considered lot coverage, then it wouldn't. I know, like, it depends upon the safety material they use underneath.
I didn't know if they just had like,
I'm not sure.
okay.
Yeah, sure what type. I think they're just the little old-fashioned bouncy things.
Yeah,
that
that's
we
what I
have.
thought.
We wouldn't consider them lot coverage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're looking for a trade?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I
kind of.
was.
Yep, good point. Okay. The only other thing I would suggest is that to get rid of some of that 96 is move it closer to the road.
Oh, you mean the sidewalk?
Yes.
Is
This way.
Not that it's going to take away a lot, so I think I'll beat this horse to death. Okay. Any discussion?
When you talk about hardships, for the client, seems like if they go fight it legal, it's a bigger financial hardship. They'd probably win based off that definition and what they're doing. I don't know. But I don't like that you just can't replace it with something newer. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, And I wouldn't want to cut one of them big trees down because I think that'd do more harm to that area than, what they're going to do,
And you can get in there without any tree removal?
Yes, no tree removal.
Anyone else have any comments? Okay. Moving for a motion. Someone would like to make a motion?
Let me read it.
Go ahead, if you got it.
In the matter of VAAP 25-0180 Dennis Point Marina, having made a finding that the standards for granting a variance and the objectives of section 24.4 of the St. Mary's County Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance have been met, I move to approve the variance request from section 71.8.3. Bravo, subparagraph 1, to impact the critical area buffer to replace an existing trailer with a new building to be used as storage and rental building for kayaks, paddle boards, rowboats, and pedal boats.
I have a motion on the floor
A second.
and second, and we'll start with Mr. LaRocco.
Aye.
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 No.
Aye. So you can see that the board has voted 4-1 to approve your request this evening. An order reflecting the board's decision will be prepared by staff and signed by the board within 60 days. A 30-day period follows from the date the order is signed, and which any aggrieved party may appeal this board's decision in circuit court. The recording secretary will email you a copy once the order has been signed.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
All
for your
right.
time tonight.
Good
I
luck.
appreciate it.
Good
Thank
luck. Good luck. So we only have a couple of other orders of business. One is the minutes from the February 26th, 2026 meeting. Everyone have a chance to take a look at them?
I move that it be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So our next meeting is March, we don't have anything before March 26th, right?
I think Mr.
Yes, we
Longworth's
do.
going to be
We-
at that one.
We have the continuance.
That's the continuance on March 26th, correct? That's the
Yes.
next one.
Yes,
So we
March
don't have one the
26th.
second Thursday.
April 9th?
No, March, we don't have we in March.
We are
26th
in
would be
March.
2 weeks from now.
We in March, don't mind me, don't mind me. So the next meeting is the 26th, with the two appeals and a variance with the Bradley Brook development.
Sir, do we know who all is going to be here for the board?
For the board.
For the board.
You'll be here for the 26th, so everyone else will be here, I'll be here,
I'll be here.
There's a chance I might have to go to Atlanta
okay?
for work.
Did Mr. Volke say he was available?
He did say he was available,
Okay,
yes, that he was.
so we'll have a full board,
Okay.
so. And, anything else? Mr. Scott?
I think Mr. Hauser wanted to give us an update on the Lahaco Townhouse appeal.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Board of Appeals members are going to remember that case as Riverside Townhomes. About a year ago, an appeal was brought up from the Planning Commission's denial of a 42 townhouse project just north of 235 and 4. Over the course of 2 hearings, the Board of Appeals heard the case and also unanimously denied the concept site plan. An appeal was noted of the board's decision to the circuit court. That took some time to be heard, was heard on February 11th. Yesterday, we got the opinion of the circuit court affirming the board's denial and stating that there were righteous grounds to turn down the concept site plan. So he's got about 4 weeks, the applicant does, decide whether or not he wants to seek further appellate review of the case. But for now, the Board of Appeals decision stands and is affirmed.
Now, does that court thing become a part of board docs? Does it get entered into board docs or not?
No, I'm going to bet that is not standard procedure that we've done it. Probably
Yeah, but
don't
we
even
don't
have
win
a-
that often.
written down. No, I want to say this is probably the first petition for judicial review on a zoning matter in 5-6 years.
Yeah, it's been some time. And I think if you read, I sent the chairman the court's order. If you read the court's order, they went to great length to look into and review the rationale used by the Board of Appeals and found that it was in compliance with the ordinance and a proper application of the facts to those ordinances.
If the board wants, we can set a special date to read the entirety of the order into the record. Just put it on television in perpetuity.
We should.
So is it safe to assume whoever, defended our decision on that did a great job?
Well, the order stood for itself on this one. No other party intervened. The only argument that was presented was the appellant, the applicant, and his lawyer, and that was the only active voice that was heard at the hearing. So it was just the order and the rationale, and the judge, I also, from my understanding of Mr. Brown's description of the hearing, claimed to watch in its entirety the hearings, so the board's conduct and what was said as well stood on their own merits.
So John and I like to think that that's because we laid such a great foundation.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's true,
Yes.
but we're going to go with that.
Attaboy, short attorneys, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
So we'll see. And certainly we can get a copy of the order out to everybody, and we can also send that down to the Planning Commission as well, so they know how the case finally wound up.
That would be good. That would be good. Thank you. And thank you all.
Thanks, John.
Good job.
Thank you.
too.
Both of you.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
Did we
Oh.
approve minutes? Did I miss that?
We did, yep.
What? Oh, sorry, it's sitting back there. I missed everything.
I think the excitement of that opinion, is reverberating over here.
Yes.
Okay, what's the motion, sir, to
Motion
adjourn?
for adjournment.
Motion for adjournment, sir?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.